All right, everyone, welcome back to SoundWell Guitar. I'm doing a quick video just to tell you a story about the one time that I saw the legendary Les Paul perform live in a restaurant called the Iridium in New York. This was back in 2001, September 10th, 2001. Do the math on that. Where do you think I was the next day? In New York, 9/11. Yes, story for another time perhaps. I was there. Terrible day for me to actually witness that tragedy that day. But the night before was absolutely magical because I saw Les Paul live, only just a few short years before he actually passed away. I am, in fact, showcasing my wife's grandfather's guitar graduation present. This is, I believe, a 1948 Gibson. I don't own a Gibson Les Paul. I used to. Wish I still had it. But I don't. But I thought I'd just have this one in the video. And anyway, I'm going to get on with the story. I'm not actually going to be playing guitar. Just thought it would be cool to have it. So here I was in New York back in 2001, September. And just sightseeing and going, checking out museums and, whatever. But I found out, because I called my guitar teacher at the time, and he told me that Les Paul performs every Monday night at this restaurant called the Iridium. I'm like, no way, that just seems too good to be true. I'm actually going to see Les Paul live in a restaurant? And sure enough, he wasn't wrong. I go there, and I paid to hang out there. Had an early dinner, and then the way they did it is if you're there and you just sit down at a table, you don't pay for the privilege of being at the table. You just go there like a regular customer and eating dinner. But then if you're going to stay for the show that started at like 7 or something like that, you have to pay an extra $70 to stay at the table. So it was cool that I actually got there early so that I just got a regular table that was near the stage. In fact, it was right up against the stage. And so what happened is after I finished dinner, then they're like, do you want to stay for the show? I'm like, yeah. So they put an extra $70 in your tab. They start pushing the tables together to make room for people coming in simply just, for the show and drinks and whatever. And so what happened is then they pushed the tables together, and now you're kind of like family style, like a Benihana or something, because now it's not just me and the person that I was at the restaurant with. It's a whole family now. These tables pushed together, and it was like an older couple, and it looked like their kids that were maybe about my age. I was 28 at the time, and just strangers or whatever. They were nice enough. They are part of the story that makes it kind of funny to me. The performance begins, and there's Les Paul doing Les Paul on the on a Les Paul guitar. As I watched him play, I noticed he actually stood true to what he said in. I have a book by him, and he talked about how as he got older and he was in a car accident, he's got a pin in his arm, and then so it limited his playing a bit. And he said that he now reached a point in his career where in his mind when he's playing, he just has to find the right note. Where before it was I think he said he had to try to find the right notes, but now he just had to find the right one. And so he was up there, and it's like you just get to see Les Paul backed up by this group. And I think they still kind of went by the term Les Paul Trio. Anyway, I watched two guitarists that were backing him up were amazing. They definitely deserved to get that gig. But there he was being backed up with these guys, but then he would play to the best of his ability with, I think, arthritis, advanced age, and of course the injury from the car accident. And he played beautifully. He knew how to play tastefully within what ability that he still had left. And of course you can't get past the fact that you're 10 feet away from the legendary Les Paul. If you don't know who this is, this was a guy that invented the solid body electric guitar. You've ever heard of those? He also invented multi-track recording, which multi-track recording is now just a standard with digital recording, but this was back in the analog days where he figured out how he could separate the tape that went over tape heads and do it in multiple sections. That way you could go in and record something like on a guitar and then roll the tape back and then adjust the tape head, and then record something over that on another part of the tape. It probably doesn't sound like that big of a deal to people that didn't grow up back in the day like I did with like the Tascam Porta 1 and stuff like that. But this absolutely revolutionized the recording industry. I believe like the Beatles themselves took advantage of this kind of technology at the time, and so much of what the Beatles did would not have been possible had it not been for Les Paul's inventions and his genius. He helped develop pickups and microphones, things like that. And in fact, originally when he started out young, he didn't go by the name Les Paul. He went by the name Rhubarb Red. And he became very popular right away because of his use of amplification and microphones. So he's very much like a gearhead kind of guy. Had a lot to do with pushing the recording industry and things like that. Also, again, the invention of the solid body electric guitar. All of us guitarists and musicians and recording artists, we owe him such a great debt, his contribution to music. But not only that, he was just an amazing player all around. Okay, so funny thing was, I'm watching this amazing performance. I mean, I was just riveted to it. I didn't even want to blink. I didn't want to miss a thing. It was so crazy, too, because like some members of the band, the Guess Who, were actually in the restaurant at the time, too, and he invited them up on stage. I don't think it was staged. I think they just happened to be there, hanging out, having some drinks, and then Les Paul's like, get up on stage. So then I got to see that. There was another jazz guy that got on stage, and I was never able to figure out who he was. Les Paul was up there making a lot of jokes. Some maybe didn't age so well. He, by his own admission, actually is a dirty old man. He calls himself that on the Chester and Lester album. He's a pretty funny guy, but kind of had to take his politically incorrect jokes with a grain of salt. Anyhow, he had a new member of the band. This is interesting. It was a young woman playing upright bass. So this is his bassist in the ensemble. And she was new to the band, and he introduced her, and it was really cool. He gave her that shout out, but then also he gave her a solo spot during the performance. He said she wrote just a solo upright bass piece. It was like, whoa, okay, the whole room just gets silent, and she's super poised and starts playing. And it was very interesting. It was really well written. It was really cool. And I was just riveted to it. I thought it was amazing. Well, here's where the story gets kind of funny. After she's done, everybody's clapping. Over the clapping, I can hear the people that we're sharing the big table with start talking amongst themselves, going, yeah, she'll never amount to anything. Oh, my God, no. No talent. She'll never amount to anything. I'm like, she'll never amount to anything? They literally said that. I'm like, she's on stage playing with Les Paul? I think she's doing all right in the music world. I just was wondering where the perspective was at. It just seems so weird. It gets weirder later, though. After the performance, everybody's clapping and that, and okay, it's starting to die down. Like they're tearing apart the stage, and we're all getting up, and all of a sudden the whole group at our table turns to me, and they go, "Okay, we've got a bet going on about you." Like, me? What? A bet? About what? And the woman said, "We've got a bet. You're somebody famous. We just don't know who." And I laughed, and I just said, "Oh, famous? Me?" I'm like, I think I was meant to be famous, but I'm not. I'm just small potatoes. Like, I am a musician. I do play professionally, but famous? No, not at all. And then it just hit me. It was so funny. These people just got done saying that this woman playing bass for Les Paul will never amount to anything. But hey, that random guy over there with the tattoos, he must be famous. What? Okay. I always thought that part of the story is pretty funny. People's perspective on what fame looks like. Somebody standing on stage playing with Les Paul, they're not famous, but just that guy is. Okay, other highlights of the show. I'm just about to wrap up this video, but I just wanted to show you guys something. When the show was over, they had a merch table. I thought, how cool is that? Les Paul's got a merch table in the back, And what did I get? First off, I had been trying to get myself a copy of Chester and Lester and Guitar Monsters, and here they were selling it on CD. I had tried to get it and found that it was actually out of print. Well, they had it at their merch table. I was so happy. I mean, honestly, I was trying any means I could to get a hold of these tracks, and I was even using Napster. It was 2001, and got a couple of them, and I wanted the whole album so bad. Here I was finally buying it directly from Les Paul's management. I did, however, acquire it later in a thrift store, at least the Chester and Lester one, on vinyl. And then nowadays, too, I mean, this was so special at the time, and especially when I got that CD, we didn't have Spotify and all that. Now all this is available on Spotify, and give it a listen. It's pretty fun. And last but not least, what else did I acquire at that show? A shirt. There it is. Yes, an actual official Les Paul shirt from one of his performances in the New York restaurant, the Iridium. There's the back. It's seen better days. It says the Iridium, Les Paul Iridium Jazz Club. Oh, and there's the address. I think it says 1850 Broadway, New York City. Some of it's worn off. It's really cool to have this. I wore it all the time. Kind of wish I didn't, but hey, whatever. I still have it. That's really cool, and I get to show it to you guys. Hope you found that story entertaining. I'll catch you on the next one.